Hi there. So we're going to be looking a little bit here into landscape design and what all it involves, kind of its purpose and intent. And so I just want to make one thing clear here right off the bat. This is not my original slideshow. This is one that I found when I was kind of struggling to look for information about landscaping that was presented really well. So I apologize. I can't find the name of the original author that originally made this slideshow, but it's another instructor who covers horticulture. So if I do find a way to give credit for them for the video, I will try to do so as soon as I can. So right here off the bat, you can look between these two homes here, and you might ask, well, what's the difference between them? And it's pretty obvious, right? If we're looking at the one on the left, this is a landscape that has not been maintained a bunch. I mean, obviously the grass is still kind of trimmed down, and the trees are well spaced out from the house, but obviously the picture on the right presents a much more interesting landscape with the way that everything's laid out. It's much more appealing to someone, and so this is the essence of landscaping. And as we go through this, we'll talk a little bit about the functions of landscaping. One of the primary reasons why you may end up doing it, not only for your own personal value, is just to help with the value of your home. It helps increase the value of your home if you're trying to sell it. So that is one of the major points of landscaping. Okay. So the objectives for this presentation, we want to define landscape design, list the 5 factors and 5 aspects involved in landscape design, and list the 4 benefits of landscape design. So we'll go through those. So what is landscape design? Landscape design is the art of developing property for its greatest use and enjoyment. Effective landscape design is also a science because it involves understanding the environment around your home and selecting plants that perform well in that environment. So sometimes you're going to plant things to try and counteract effects from the environment, but you also have to consider what's going to survive long term around your home and what's going to potentially disrupt structures around your house. You have to think these things through. A well-conceived landscape design, properly installed and well-maintained, adds value to your property and enhances the quality of your life. So again, we talk about landscaping also be something that is enjoyable for people. So aspects of landscape design. So this can involve the planting of ornamental trees. And when we say ornamental, we just mean ones that are there for more decorative purposes than anything else. Shrubs, vines, ground covers, including grasses. So anything that will cover up soil, basically, in certain areas can be ground cover. Ivy would be another good example of ground cover. Flowers, both annuals and perennials. So ones that either only live their life through 1 year or ones that keep coming back year after year. And bulbs. Again, a lot of these end up being flowers whenever we're talking about bulbs, but that's another aspect of landscape design in terms of what we could be planting. It also involves physical features or hardscapes. So if you hear the term hardscape, it's referring to things like fences, terraces, retaining walls, patios, walks, any non-plant features, basically. So these would be things that are a little bit tougher to confront because this would be construction projects, but again, they're things that you want to consider as part of your landscape. Factors in landscape design. So some factors that can influence landscapes. These are the things that you, again, want to factor in before you make your plans. Terrain, is the ground that you're working with level or is it stooped in some way? What's the sediment like underneath it? The climate. So again, planting things that are appropriate as far as the zones that you are going to be utilizing. Homes, buildings, and other physical structures. What's going to be potentially blocking off certain pathways? What things do you need to consider? Like if you're growing trees, are the roots going to disrupt the foundations of these places? The intended use of the property is another important one. So again, thinking about what your needs are would be important. And then client needs. Again, sometimes we're talking about landscaping for somebody else. Sometimes we're talking about it for ourselves. It just depends. So whether or not it's for a business, someone's home, if it's a park. Again, thinking about what we're providing that landscaping for. So then looking at the benefits of landscape design, there are 4 ways in which landscape is valuable. And we'll go over these in a little bit more detail. So aesthetically, economically, functionally, and environmentally. So these are all kind of tied into the benefits of taking in landscape design. So the aesthetic value. An attractive landscape that adds beauty or is pleasing to your senses. So again, we're talking about it messing with all different types of senses that you have. And visual is the primary one that we think of, but it can cascade into more than that. So the visual beauty of your home and property can be enhanced through creative landscaping, while undesirable features can be downplayed. Again, if there's certain features that you want to hide, having shrubs or vines that can kind of block off that area, if it's a building face that doesn't look very pleasant, again, landscaping can help to hide certain features. The sounds that a landscape offers, like a breeze rustling the leaves in the trees, or the sounds of birds or of water splashing in a fountain, enhance the aesthetic qualities of your home environment. So, again, you might have hardscapes that factor into this, like wind chimes and things like that. But also, if you just think about in general, the way that the layout of your landscape could still have kind of a soundscape aspect to it. The aroma of flowers or the smell of freshly mowed lawn and even the taste of fruit from plants that you might have in the landscaping are soothing. So these are the factors that people don't consider quite as much smell and taste, but they can be parts of landscaping as well, as long as you pick, flowers that have a pleasant smell or anything that can produce something edible that's pleasant to eat. Economic value. So the well-done landscape adds economic value to your home and property. Again, if you're looking to sell a house, this is something you might want to consider. The value of your home can be increased by as much as 6 to 15% as a result of a good landscape. It is not the most valuable feature of your property. The house is. So again, 6 to 15% may not seem like much, but when you're selling a home, you're starting to look at things that we're talking about thousands of dollars. So 6 to 15% off of so many $1,000 is still going to be a lot more income. So it is still worth considering for that piece. The function of the landscape is to enhance the beauty and therefore the economic value of your house. It can also reduce energy bills by buffering seasonal temperatures. So again, if you have tree cover that is blocking like your windows, for example, that can limit how much sunlight comes into the house. It can limit how much heat is produced whenever you're looking at your AC bill in the summertime, for example. That would be one way that, that the tree would be able to help with that during that time of the year. Trees and shrubs can be used to reduce wind speed, making your outdoor living area more comfortable. So again, trees and other structures that have kind of a wide bearing and lots of leaves can reduce the amount of wind that you're going to get through certain areas. So if you have like a patio that you don't want a lot of wind whipping through there, trees and shrubs can kind of help with that. It's kind of a natural wall that helps block off part of that. So functional value, and again, this ties a little bit over into the economic piece. Well, we talked about some functions that are also economic benefits with trees and shrubs. Well-placed trees, shrubs, turf, and construction features increase the use of your property. So again, what you're able to do. A little shade in the right place, a little sun in another, a place for the kids to play, a private patio, pool, or deck, all add to the enjoyment of being outside. So again, talking a little bit about hardscapes there and whether or not you want to add some of these features to your landscape as well. Landscaping helps you solve landscape problems, cut down on maintenance. So here it talks about, for example, ground cover used on a steep hill in the yard can help you avoid lawn maintenance headaches, and on a very steep slope, ground cover may be essential to prevent erosion. So if you're like me, you have to mow the lawn, and sometimes you have a severe incline or decline in a certain area, and it's very hard to push mow in that area. If you have ground cover, it can help get rid of the grass basically in that area. If you have something like ivy instead that's blocking that out, or another type of plant that kind of grows low to the ground that doesn't get up too high to where homeowners associations are going to complain. But again, it makes it to where you don't have to mow that area. And then for preventing erosion, again, erosion happens when wind or water start to break apart the soil and will take those soil elements down, and so it can really cause that incline or decline to be that much more severe, that much more steep. So again, the roots of ground cover may help hold those things in place. So a couple of purposes toward ground cover. Environmental value, temperatures can be buffered either in the summer or winter. So again, having trees and other large blocking structures in certain places can help with this. Glare and wind can be reduced, and water can be used more efficiently. Glare, we're kind of referring to, so like if you've ever been watching TV and then the window behind you is letting sunlight in and it's reflecting back off of the screen. Again, having a plant to kind of block that out can be helpful in some cases. So that's another example of trees kind of helping on that front. Plants in the landscape can help clean the air of dust and some pollutants, again, just when they're going through their natural cycles, taking in things like carbon dioxide. And your landscape also provides a habitat for all kinds of wildlife. And again, wildlife themselves can provide economic benefits as well, like in terms of pest control and things like that. But it's also pleasant to see animals like that inside of the environment. So finally, the last thing to consider is your level of commitment. Do you do all the landscaping yourself, if you have the skills to do it, or do you hire a landscape designer? They're trained in the art of design and the science of growing the horticultural plants. They have knowledge of plant ID, know cultural requirements of plants, and when we say cultural, we mean just being able to get it to mature. And then construction practices and principles of design. So there are people who've made it their life's work to work in landscaping. And again, you probably want a professional to look at these types of things unless you feel confident in your abilities yourself. And for that matter, if you feel very confident in your own abilities, this is a potential job field that you can get into, landscape design. If you're the kind of person who does a lot of this at home anyway, it's something that you may want to consider. So I hope that this video kind of helps clarify some pieces about landscape design in general. Again, this is not my original presentation. If I can figure out a way to give credit to the person, I will. But I think they did a very good job of putting together this information. So I hope that it was helpful.